Mighty magic was made, daring deeds were done, on the 4 islands blessed by the Shining Ones. On Valias dwelt the Liafal, stone of destiny. On Gorias was the spear of Lu, of shining victory. On Vindias was kept Nuada's sword, daringly drawn. On Murias the cauldron, where men are refreshed and reborn. From these lands our legends were brought to birth. None can tell if they dwell in the heavens or the earth. From these islands to Erin came the fair folk, in 3 days and 3 nights of fire and smoke. Danu's children knew this for their ancestors' home, but since then the Fir Bolg had made it their own. So they set up a camp that could clearly be seen, guarded by the 3 who between them were queen. Bards and druids went forth with a message next day that the Fir Bolg must share their land and make way. But the Fir Bolg had warriors and wise men of their own, and Yoche their king would not give up his throne. So each side could see the chance of victory or defeat. It was agreed the people's champions would meet. Shreng the strong and Brest the beautiful met on the field, to see what weapons one another would wield. After that the bards of the Fir Bolg king had nothing but ballads of battle to sing. The Tuatha de Danaan, as they called in Erin's tongue, put their prophecy and poetry in the songs that were sung, that a flight of ravens would sweep over the sand, and this meant there would be war, but it would cleanse the land. The names of Con and Cahulin would fill songs and stories, but first the fighters would grapple for glory. A pledge of peace to prepare for what was in store, but in a quarter of a year there would be war. By the dawn of Midsummer's Day, the Fir Bolg youth were tired of peace, but their elders upheld their fragile ceasefire. So they played the men of day at hurling to show their skill. During the match, they attacked. 3 times 9 of Danu were killed. This provocation ended the peace, and waiting warriors rose, with a wall of shields, a forest of spears, and swords to dazzle their foes. Poet Faha raised a stone pillar and climbed up to boast, but he wept when he foresaw a plain of pillars, graves for the host. Battle Crow, 3-fold queen, with mist and magic led the attack. But with passion and purpose the Fir Bolg fighters beat them back. To a healing well of herb-blessed waters went the Fir Bolg king, and 3 healers of the Tuatha De stood and challenged him. The nameless guardian of that place rushed to his aid. All 4 were slain, and King Yoche laid them all in one grave. From red dawn to red dusk the Fir Bolg fought the men of day, but neither side took any ground, and neither side gave way. Next day men of Danu marched with Dagda, called Grand God in boast, while Fintan of the Flood and his 13 sons led the Fir Bolg host. The shouts of the Sidhe from the hollow hills whipped the waters to waves. King Yoche followed 3 sons of Nemed, ancient race, to the grave. Shreng fought Nuada, Danu's king, and struck off his sword arm, but the Fir Bolg champion was defeated, and the battlefield grew calm. With Nuada wounded, the Fir Bolg rose to fight again on the morrow, but only 300 remained, with no leaders left to follow. With his last act as king, Nuada called for fighting to cease, and offered the Fir Bolg their land in Connachta to live in peace. He laid down his crown that he might go to be healed, and in his place they crowned the fiercest fighter on Moytura's plain, beautiful Brest. The name of the Fir Bolg of Connachta remained on poet's breath, for it was their descendants that Cahulin fought to the death. But Brest was crowned high king of Erin at Tara, his high seat, where stood the stone Liafal, that roared beneath a true king's feet. Before the flood, Danu's race blessed Erin, vowing to come again. Partholon and Nemed came after, Of them only Tuan and Fintan remain. Since time out of mind, races of Erin were subdued by the Fomor, tyrannical tax collectors from the dark land just off the shore. Erin's hope was Fir Bolg Princess Tailtew's foster son, for he was half-blood, Danu and Fomor, by his hand would the land be won. Hidden from the Tuatha de Danaan, he walked the land alone, but they sorely needed a kinder king than Brace on Tara's throne. Even Dagda, wide and bold, and his brother Ogma, warrior bard, were slaves, though their bloodline was divine, for Brace's heart was hard. Brace denied Cairbre the welcome due to a bard, and was cursed. If things went well for Brace before, from that day his fate was worse. Nuada's healer healed his wound with silver. Silver Hand he was named, but his son did more, restored royal flesh, and the old healer was ashamed. He killed his son in a rage, scattered the healing herb from his grave, so that by his hand alone could wounded warriors be saved. With the true king healed, Brace was rejected, and he returned to his mother, and asked who his father was. If I can't rule my race, I'll join with another. Eru told how a Fomori prince came to her, an innocent maid, with a ship of silver, a body like bronze, and robes of gold brocade. She gave her maidenhood to him, they made love in a bed of heather. His name was Elaha, and she longed to return to him forever. She named her son Brace, beautiful fury, for none was handsome as he, and by the ring he wore he would be known by his father over the sea. As was their custom, the Fomor put Brace to mock battle with horse and hounds, but when their champion challenged him, his long-lost father was found. It was Elaha himself, who recognized him by his ring, but he knew Brace for a tyrant, and would not help him be king. So Brace went to the Fomori king, Balor of the Evil Eye, who thought at first the Tuatha de Danaan had sent a spy. But when Brace asked his aid against Nuada Silverhand, with a greedy grin he agreed, for he longed to conquer Erin's land.